Greetings and salutations. I hope everyone is well. We're here with another power scaling video extraordinaire. I'm joined by Naglam. Say hi to the people.
Hello. Hello.
Listen.
Hey.
And today we have the battle of the MCs of what I would consider to be the two best webtoons, at least on like Naver, Line, whatever they call it now. I heard it's not even called Line webtoons anymore. It's just webtoons, but in all caps or something. I don't know. But we got the 25th Baam coming back again for round 2, and he's up against Kubera Leez from Kubera One Last God. Story and art by Curry Gom. Should be a fun one. Should be interesting. It's one that a lot of you guys definitely suggested, so we're gonna hop into that. I'm gonna do this way. We're gonna do it this way. I will, for the most part, just be speaking on Bam's behalf, and Glam will be arguing on Leez's behalf. And I think before we get into anything, did you want to just kind of give people a general idea of like the feats and capabilities of things that the Kubera characters can do in their universe?
Yeah, so for anybody that isn't familiar with this story, it's not particularly praised for its power scaling, but in actuality it kind of should be, concerning that the upper limits of what characters can do in this story are a little bit ridiculous, and even the characters that matter, like the mid-tiers of that, can actually do some insane stuff. So just speaking from the first season perspective, there are 2 characters within that series that could very easily wipe out entire cities, and it's not necessarily a difficult thing for them to do. And by the time we've reached the 3rd, we've reached people that are ranging anywhere from planetary to universal at the point in which we're at right now in the story at the moment in time. And this doesn't necessarily
Solar System Plus.
Yeah. Which, as anybody that reads Tower of God knows, that's like far beyond what even the majority of like the family heads, at least, is what we think are capable of.
Like Phantom Minute would probably be in his own category, but he's technically, like I always tell people, he's not a Tower of God character. He's a Tales User Story or Universe character. Yeah.
That is, now this only really applies to the monstrous characters and the gods. Leez, on the other hand, is a bit different, and there are humans that are particularly exceptional, and they can reach that sort of season 1 level power. Leez is a bit different with that. She's one of the more notable humans when it comes to fighting a lot of these monstrous characters or gods, that like she can actually step to a lot of them and deal with some of these sort of people.
And like just to give you guys like another idea, like there's a character in the 3rd season who quite literally casually flicked his wrist and threw somebody from one planet all the way across to another one. Like they're able to do stuff like that. And if you want to talk about one of the kings, I believe in the 1st season they said he could wrap himself around the planet like something like 6 to 7 times. I can't remember the exact number or something like that, but it's just like on a different scale. Like they're just actually crazy, even though it's a love fantasy.
And I'll also say,
fantasy love series. Go ahead.
I'll also say it's not just about big scale too. There's little scale shit here too. There's one character that can entirely destroy souls if he wants to. There's another character that can send somebody to a dimension that's basically void, disintegrate and die if they're sent there. Actually, there's 2 characters that can do that. Actually, no, 3 characters that can do that.
Pretty much, if you're not immortal, like you don't have, like if you have a finite lifespan, he can literally just one-shot you. It's insta-kill.
Yes.
So there are even like hacks, abilities, OP abilities, if you will, in it. Not just like I'm really big and strong and like kind of like Dragon Ball. Like Dragon Ball, I'd say most things are along that scale and very simple. But just to give you guys an idea, because I know a lot of you guys here are more so Tower of God fans, we just wanted to kind of set this table so you understand that like, as much as Kubera is not a series that focuses on combat, though she has put a bigger emphasis on it as things have gotten more serious, and we've seen more, especially in the 3rd season, they are incredibly powerful. So,
and that's made apparent from the beginning of the story too, I might add.
Precisely. And with that, well, we can start off with some basics. I suppose we can start with what I usually do is like, I guess, power or speed. And overall, like I don't know what's called durability, but I can say like vitality. Like you might, even if a character can't take a lot of pain, can they heal? Their healing factor, can they come back to life? Stuff like that. Like we can get into all of that. Did you want to start? Is there any you want to start with? Speed.
I mean, we can we can start with the physical strength department because I think that's going to be one we're both going to agree on.
Okay.
Leez absolutely dominates Baam in terms of physical strength. It is utterly ridiculous. This is just in terms of her base abilities and also the items that she has that sort of buffs this to a certain extent. But Leez has been able to.
Yes. Oh, just sorry, real quick. We'll probably have to talk about items too. Now you're talking about that too, because Thorn and blah 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 in conjunction to the Golden Knight and everything else. But just I have to keep that in mind. Go ahead.
Like Leez's physical blows are capable of straight up throwing around characters that are capable. Like these are like straight up superhuman people. Like they could grab people the size of like a mountain and throw them. And Leez is capable of like going toe to toe with these types of people in terms of the physical strength department. She's one feat that particularly impresses is that a fist stage Rakshasa that you saw fought in the third season. This dude's tentacle was like it was miles long, and it was slamming into cities and breaking barriers. These same sort of tentacles tried to wrap around Leez and crush her to death. She was able to not only, well, we'll get to the damage she took for that, but she was able to push these off of her with her own two hands without using any sort of external abilities that she already has. And Leez has always been very strong, even when the series started. But as of season 3, it's become to the case where she's basically, in terms of humans, I think easily the physically strongest in the verse. Barring one exception.
As far as pure bloods go, she's tippy top for the most part. No, I agree with that. Even the first season, even though some of them were like comedic and gag stuff where she was hitting people, she was hitting them really hard. And I even think about even recently, like Yuta waking up and being kind of
one shot.
And just be like, sleep.
Go to sleep, bitch.
Like he's not a monster who's literally about to destroy the universe. Like if things go wrong, right? Like, and she just hits him once and he is out like a light. Baam, I'm not trying to say Baam is some weak slouch who can't like jump high or punch hard or anything of the sort, but I'm gonna say two things actually. A lot of you guys, I remember you making the argument, Baam is not that strong without Shinsu reinforcement. So if you were in that camp, you cannot back down now. So you better stay consistent, because a lot of you guys were telling me that. I remember this. So without him boosting himself with Shinsu, even if you think about some like, what he is now is completely night and day to what he's been in the first 2 seasons. I acknowledge that, but I will just give you the example of when him and Aguero and Rack were running in the name hunt station when Karaka and Yuri were fighting. They could not keep up with Endorsi without using Shinsu boosting, and she was just using her raw speed. She wasn't using any Shinsu boosting, if I remember correctly, because she's a Jihad princess. She's naturally a lot more physically gifted. So, but I always say this, I can't particularly think of many characters in that series who have crazy, just raw power feats. Like, yeah, the attack and the beam and the wave you shot was devastating, but I'm lifting this mountain that's weighs 600 tons. Like, those are not there, and Baam doesn't have anything like that. Not that he's more.
Yeah, the only people that are like that in TOG, from what I recall, are like Caliban and Direct.
Yeah, like Caliban is one of them, and stuff like that. Like they've done something crazy like that. So keep that in mind. So I definitely think when it comes to this kind of like raw power, just muscle, whatever you want to call it, Leez absolutely takes this in that category. Now, speed to me is an interesting one, because Leez is still
weird.
Is still fast and whatnot, but the reason that, even if you want to make the argument possibly that she's faster than Baam, she doesn't have the level of mobility Baam has, because he can fly. He does not need the blue ore to fly, which is something I think some people forget. Now he can just do what Bleach characters do and stand on nothing, just stand in the air. He's capable of full flight, so he has full aerial mobility on top of being extremely fast if he's using the blue ore or something like that. So
Leez has that too, but that is only when she has a certain item equipped on her, as we both know. So I can't necessarily give it to her in terms of base, but there is a technique that she has that she is quite gifted in that allows her to fly. Particularly in the third season. First 2 seasons she struggled with using this, but it was her main goal to figure it out. And she can't really use it with the item that she has either. But the good thing for her, well, we'll get to the items when we get to them. But
Mm.
flight is an ability that she has. But I would actually agree that I think Bam physical speed's weird because I don't think either series does a particularly fantastic job of showing like speedster type characters, unless your name is Dan for for Tower of God. It's like Lee. I would assume that Bam is faster. I just don't know by how much.
That makes sense to me. Like, it's not that I don't think he's not faster. Just like, it's I don't. It's hard to say, right? Because I could go old school. I'm not going to, like what people used to do, pixel scaling and stuff like that. Like, I'm not doing that. But some series might have a statement where like you can work around it to some degree, where you're like, okay, this character is Mach 6. If this character is faster than them, they're this many times faster than the speed of sound. But also, like, I'm gonna take JJK for example. They might say, oh, he summoned his domain expansion in 0.01 seconds. Like, you can use that and work off of that. There really isn't anything like that in TOG or Kubera. So just literally kind of like the eye test. If you guys like sports, like, it's just the eye test. Like, we don't have the statistics or the advanced analytics for that. But I would still, for this category, I definitely would give Bam the edge. But like you said, I don't know if it's night and day. Close enough that it matters, or really close that it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with that one. So we can kind of call that one a draw. But I do always think that a character who can fly and a character who can't does change the battle a lot. I think Pat used the example a while ago about Tien and Goku in the 22nd Budokai tournament, where he didn't want to get caught lacking in the air because he'd have to use like a Kamehameha or something to move himself in the air and that waste energy. So just keep that in mind. Okay, you want to move on to what we just do? Power,
Power, speed, and you wanted to do
I guess durability, toughness, vitality.
In this particular instance, once again, Leez dominates Bam as far as I am aware in terms of this. Like, I understand Blue Shield is a technique that Bam has that I think its durability hasn't been quite tested to the point we can really say how good it is yet.
The best 2 feats that I can give you, I think, or maybe 3 if I remember correctly, was the dodging, blocking a Calivan punch, and if I remember correctly, he used it against White, but White sword like broke through it and was gonna break through it, but I think he used it to kind of disregard it to get an attack in, if I remember correctly. But yeah, go ahead though.
So this is 2 different things. This is just straight up defense durability in terms of I take no damage. In terms of how much damage I can take, and also how much damage I can regenerate. Leez is better than him in all of that.
How quickly can I bounce back from taking a lot of damage? Yeah,
Leez is better than him in all of that. This is primarily down to, again, 2 items that she has. But in addition to that, Leez, at least from what I have been able to tell in the series, is pretty naturally, like, she has good endurance. Like, she can take damage and muscle through it better than most characters that are human in Kubera normally can. And even now, up to a certain extent. I mean, now she's one of the most defensively oriented characters in the verse right now. But again, I want to really save that until we get to the items in particular, because once we get to them, it's it's night and day compared to how much shit Bam can take in comparison to her.
So I actually think Tower of God has it's not a series that's not good at showing how impactful an attack can be sometimes. He's recently started using more blood and whatnot, but like, I'll give you an example. When Yasracha packed up Yama the second time and there was like blood everywhere across the ground, but then I saw Yama, he didn't look like he was hurt that badly. And like, conversely, in One Piece, I swear every punch looks like it just ended your life 8 times and then just get back up. You know what I'm saying? Like Tower God in some ways has a hard time with me showing how devastating an attack is. But I will say this: Bam is not frail by many capacities. Shinsu resistance and density is very high, and the Shinsu boosting does give him the ability to tank and take a lot of attacks. I might argue just naturally he's tougher than Leez, but
I'd agree with that too.
But when it comes to if they take damage and Bam has bounced back from major fights quickly, but usually there's always a power up involved. Like, he went pretty hard against White, but then he absorbed the crown part of White's like soul ability or spell, and then he was kind of healed. Like that's like to me that's very situational, right? Like so if he
Mhm.
doesn't get a power up immediately after, he does have to like rest and like recuperate his strength, so to speak. Leez with the golden knight and whatnot, she can bounce back.
Yeah.
She can bounce back. So like I think her vitality in the other two categories are definitely, I'd give it to her. I don't actually know how much general damage Baam could take, because if I'm being quite honest, he doesn't usually take it. The story kind of protects him from that in a lot of ways. But I'd give her the other two, but I'd give him just straight up basic toughness. I'd give it to him.
Yeah, I agree with that as well, because his Shinsu density is a little bit wild in terms of how much he can take.
Yeah, but and all things considered, he's really good at defending himself. Because even though I think about Dada Jihad, and Dad tried to hit him with something crazy, and he's like, did he just split apart the orb into to block? Like he's very good at defending himself. So there's that. But all right. I want to bring it quickly. Do you think personality at all will play into their fight? Because I
don't
argue
think in
no.
this one it does.
Yeah, I'd argue no. In a lot, I think they have a decent amount of overlap, but they're not like the type to like, oh, I'm gonna psychologically hit you with, oh, remember what, like, no, they're not gonna do anything like that. Like they're not that, they're a pretty straightforward, honest type of people and fighters. Go ahead.
Leez would 100% be willing to put herself in more damage or in more danger than anybody else to get a hit off that Baam wouldn't necessarily be able to deal with, or who he would be too cautious to. Like Leez is
a little more reckless in that sense. Like to get a big hit, she'd be willing to take one. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. The only instance that I could really think of Baam doing that was versus White, where he said he has to be brave to not defend himself much, to hit him with something strong. I think that's when he used Stardust. I'll make sure that I got that right. If I'm wrong, I'll put a little texting here. But other than that, no, he's not like I would argue in a lot of ways she's Luffy reckless. I'm gonna just run through these poisonous, not poisonous, I don't think they're poisonous. These like I think of Don Krieg. Like fuck this. I'm gonna just run, take all the shots. Oh, you put a spike cape up? I don't care. I will punch it and make my hand bleed to hit you.
I'll take the explosions from the spear. Thank you very much, sir.
Exactly. Yeah. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that level of dog in him. Not yet, at least. So I'll give that to her too. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Items? Or do you think?
Man, this one's hard between the two. Like we can do this where you want to just talk about Baam's and I can talk about Leez's, because Leez only has 3 of them. Baam is substantially more.
Okay, go ahead.
Actually, no, Leez has 4 of them. So the first one I'll get into is the Golden Knight, and this is her creme de la creme item that she has. It's a bracelet that increases her essentially like her spellcasting ability and her physical like power, because that's what basically divine affinity and transcendental value translate to for Kubera in terms of just like layman's terms.
Do you want to just very, very simply just kind of explain them how magic somewhat works, just so they have an idea?
Magic
you have to go in depth. Just basic.
Like magic in Kubera, it's a very simple system. Each spell category, which is basically centered around an element that is also centered around a god that it comes from, is like 2 spells each. What items do is that they will give you different abilities from those gods as well, that are additional, that are not necessarily the same as spells. Now, just for Leez in particular, Leez is there are attributes in Kubera that each human has, and each of them have 3 in different orders. If you have 3 of the same one, that's more often than not the best combination for you to have. Leez's attributes are triple earth, which is very good for the type of fighter that she is and the type of abilities that she uses. What the Golden Knight does is that it amplifies that sort of power even more. So Leez is already naturally strong. The Golden Knight makes her even stronger, which is crazy thinking about that. Recently, she's been fighting without the Golden Knight, and her physical strength feats are incredible even without it. So I can't even imagine what it would be like if she had it on now. Because
didn't you just get it back though?
No. She still doesn't have it. Oh no, she just got it back in the time travel stuff. But she hasn't done anything combat wise with it yet. Because that feat that I brought up when the giant Sura had splashed her and then she had pushed the tentacles apart on her own with her own physical strength, she did that without the Golden Knight. So I can only imagine how much physically stronger she is now with it, but I'm not going to particularly speculate. But this item also gives her access to 5 abilities that she normally would. Because usually what Leez has is that she has her base physical strength, which is what she used against that person against. Then she has a spell called Hochi Kubera that can enhance your strength even more. So she didn't even use that when she was fighting this person. So she has essentially a double strength buff with the spell and this item. And also with this item, she can perform the higher level variant of the Kubera spells. It's called Vivadi Kubera, which allows her to fly. That's cut and dry. That's all it does. Although I think, actually no, there's no. I was thinking something else. But this is the cream of what it does. The Golden Knight bracelet gives her access to 5 abilities that she normally doesn't have, and these are Piercing Hit, Push Force, Counterattack, Earthquake, and the big one, which is Regeneration. Piercing Hit is more like, imagine, I mean, it hasn't been used very often, but every time we've seen it used, it functions as more like either a penetrating attack or a cutting attack on solid objects. Like Leez's, when she first used it, she was fighting against Anastica in human form. Anastikas are higher level monstrous characters. She was able to, with one hand, cut an entire stone pillar, and this is the first time that she had ever sort of engaged in this type of combat and wasn't really cognizant of what she was doing, because she did this unintentionally. She has not used this ability since, but I can imagine if she does it again, it would do incredible amounts of piercing damage to a character if involved. Push Force is just something where if something is trying to like constrict her or come in closer, she can essentially push it away, like a force like push or bubble barrier thing that gives her space to maneuver. Counterattack is one that is interesting as well. So what it does is that whenever somebody hits her with an attack, she can return that attack to an opponent. Now the stamina that uses up is indicative of how much power the attack is used on her when she decides to use this. So the drain is dependent on how powerful the attack is. But this attack, if it works and it can attack higher level things, if she's got enough stamina in her, it is an instant success every time. At least in terms of bouncing it back. Whether it hits the opponents on them to dodge or deal with it, but every time she's used it, it hasn't resulted in any damage for her. And the fourth one is Earthquake. Simple. She can make an Earthquake. If she puts a lot of power into it, she can actually like straight up cause like cracks in the fissures in the grounds, like upheaving of earthen materials around her. Like it can get really stupid depending on how far she's doing it. And as a recent development, she's actually started sort of indicating that she can use this ability even without the Golden Knight. There have been hints to that. She hasn't fully done this yet, but there have been definite strong indications that she sort of learned this ability without the Golden Knight in play, which sort of speaks to story stuff we can't get to. But this is the big one. Regeneration with this item. It is not a far stretch to say that Leez has Wolverine from Marvel levels of healing to the point. Yeah, so Leez, to the point where Leez has straight up died with this item on and come back to life the next moment with how much healing power that this bracelet bestows upon her. Like it's like she can get dismembered, instant regenerated, can get a hole blasted through her, instantly regenerated. I think I don't know how long it's been. I don't know if it's ever gone to the point of where she's been cut into like pulp or anything like that, but she has suffered fatal wounds and straight up gotten over them. And like that level of healing is a little bit ridiculous in terms of like a character, especially in that series. Like it's damn near impossible to kill her with this item on. But that's not. But here's the other thing with her defenses. This leads into the second item that she has, which are, and I'll let you go after this, Naya, just because I want to talk about the defensive prowess here. She has a pair of boots that we don't know the name of. And this is why Leez is such a tank and such a pain to deal with. These boots grant her the ability that when she's standing on the ground, she basically takes no damage.
Yep.
We've seen this time and again since then. The attack I described of that miles-long tentacle hitting her, it slammed onto her. She took 0 damage from it. She's been in fights with a first king of a Nastica clan, or Sur clan, which is another monstrous character, since then.
To keep it simple, they're amongst the strongest people in the entire Kubera universe, and we told you how strong
even in their human forms. Yeah. Even in their human, like this character, when she was fighting her, was able to, with one kick on the ground, cause a fissure in the ground to just appear. Leez was confident with these boots that she could straight up go on a hand-to-hand fight against this character. And everything from every indication we had seen in the story up until this point with those boots on, that seems to be the case. And I'll save the other 2 items until you want to get any points off.
Well, we're going to plethora of things that Bam has. So Bam has
Yeah.
2 thorn fragments. One
Mhm.
thorn fragment augments his general strength. There's a basic power boost. Faster, stronger, more potent attacks. If he uses an orb, with uses the orb, that he packs with like, Shinsu, which is he's supposed to be good at
Mhm.
tension. Tension just means that the bangs that he uses has a lot of power into it.
Yeah.
It gets even stronger, right? The second thorn fragment is more for teleportation, and it's a more of a space-time one. I do want to say that the first fragment, if he kind of stabs himself with it, it gives him the power of the Administrator and Tower of God, which means basically in the Tower of God universe, it allows him to control the main source of energy or magic, if you will, around him, maybe taking people's ability to use it to the point that on the floor of death, when Hell Joe said no more Shinsu, even Mizuno was unable to use Shinsu and Bam still could. So the second one gives him teleportation abilities. He recently has showcased that ability twice, to use an arrow on 2 occasions to teleport a bunch of people and items away from a certain area. And very recently, someone tried to teleport him somewhere he didn't want to go, and he said, "No, fuck that. I'm gonna go where I want to go." And basically said, "Your teleportation, my teleportation is better than your teleportation," and got closer to the area he wanted to be. I want to make it clear, he did not end up exactly where he wanted, but pretty much at the entrance. The other thing that he has is inside of him is like the red Thressa now. And actually, that's probably the one. That's probably the thing
The
that gives him
cutlery.
it's probably the thing that gives him the administrator power. But in addition to that, a character called Doom tried to turn Bam into what's called a Houndborn, just a type of species in the tower, these beastkins. And with that, it allowed him to start transforming hit some of his various items in various levels. So the red Thressa becomes this like cutting sword knife that he can like hold out. It kind of floats above him, but it has 2 levels. I saw one where it got these jaws and it was strong, and he's
Mhm.
been able to use it to cut things that are supposed to be hard to cut, and he cut through a high ranker's leg really easily when he did it. He has the blue shield, which is a thing that he uses on defense. He's used it to block some of Calivan's attacks. He used it to block some of White's attacks. I just for some reason I feel like there's one more major use he's had of it, but it's not coming to me. There's a teleporting arrow. I don't know if he's gonna use it to teleport Leez or teleport people around. He has that. Now, he has Leviathan. Leviathan was a
Yep.
monster that one of the strongest people in the series, with Trauma Ray, couldn't tame and sealed away, and Bam absorbed it, which immediately gave him more power. And he used that to hurt Holland, and he used that to beat who am I forgetting? Oh, Ren. Lopobia Ren. The power of Leviathan. He has the Black March. The Black March is a needle. That's one of the 13 months series. It's not one of the most powerful weapons in the tower. I want to make that clear, but
I
it
believe Black
can
March it's a B tier weapon, if I recall.
yeah,
Correct?
It's not. I don't remember what tier it is right now. I'll add that after, but
Yeah.
it's not one of the strong weapons. But it can regulate his power and efficiency and control it for him. And just like this happened in the last station when he was fighting against Calivan and Charlie and them, it actually helped him regulate and control his power a lot better. Then he has the souls, the billion souls that White put into him. It's unclear if he's burned all those souls in the fight with White or just a large portion of it. But White also is capable of doing that, and he absorbed power from White, this crown that we have yet to see. The thing about Bam that makes him hard to scale sometimes is he has yet to actually combine all of these powers together, and we see him at complete full strength. He's always
Mhm.
kind of half-assing, using some facsimile of this power, some facsimile of that power, without usually bringing it all together.
Yep.
Am I forgetting anything? There's like the blue demon
No, I
inside of
think you're
him that
good.
helps him go into his
Yeah, there's
his
that.
true self mode. But other than that, the skeleton thing I don't think exists anymore, because that was supposed to be the thing that allowed him to
Like
take the
the
thorn.
frame for the thorn.
Yeah, so I think that's gone, though it did heal him against, I think, one of Ja Wagnan's antimatter Shinsu bombs really early in the series.
That was like very beginning of season
Yeah,
2.
JVG when he was still Jovial Grace.
Yeah.
So I think I've covered everything. But yeah. So
I've only got two items left for Leez, and for anybody watching, I have to explain these more in depth for y'all because I know none of y'all, most of y'all are not Kubera people, but Last two weapons I got or there's actually three of them, but one of these I'm not gonna include this one because she doesn't know how to really use it yet. But she has a third weapon that could be broken
spear?
if she figures out how to use the spear. The only thing we've seen her use is like a physical strength blow, where she like remember that giant divot in the ground that she made just from like one thrust of it.
So I was like, wow, was that? He's like, no, I just kind of swung it hard.
Yeah. But yeah, the first item I'll say is the Hide of Bondage. This is a cloak that she has. Hide of Bondage is an item that's designed to capture people of relatively high, like magical and physical values. Like the first person that it was ever used upon was a second stage assassin or a second stage like monstrous character who's important to the plot. But this guy is pretty damn strong. Like he's so strong that he punches a tier above his weight class for every weight class that he is. That's how powerful he is. And this item was able to easily wrap him up. Now there's some story context involved in that too, but this cloak that she has, it cannot be taken off of her unless she deems it, and it can't be taken too far away from her. And what it can also do is that anything that she wishes to restrict with it, it can either fully capture or restrain the movement of up to a certain rank of power. Usually this doesn't work on the upper tier monstrous people or like the gods. Mainly it's been used against stronger humans or like those upper tier people if they're in their humanoid forms, which that's still strong, don't get me wrong. But like it's not like planetary blowing up stuff or anything like that. She's not capable of like bringing down a Godzilla-sized monster with this thing and like restraining its entire movements. But she can put them in a bit of a bind with this type of thing. And the last one is her major offensive weapon, which is the Sword of Return. Now, the base ability of the Sword of Return is that it is a nerf on her in terms of healing. Now, when the sword is in her hand, it can restrict that sort of regenerative power, because that's what it does for people it attacks too. It is a weapon that negates or even restricts regenerative properties of people that it fights against. And that's in totality. Now, there's certain characters that are so built different that they don't care, which is one of mine and Aya's favorite characters. We're not going to talk about him right now. So the thing with the sword is that despite all those feats I gave for her regeneration with the Golden Knight, a lot of those happened while she was holding the sword in her hand. So
that's
even
actually why we use the Wolverine thing, because remember he has adamantium poisoning and his regeneration is still incredible.
Yes, it's basically the same with her. Like Leez has taken death-dealing blows even with this sword in her hand and still gotten up with the power of the bracelet. So if she was separated from the sword when she takes a hit, it could go as far as say totally obliterated and she would get back together. I wouldn't be surprised about it. But that's one thing that the sword has. It negates regenerative powers. The second thing that is that it has a multitude of attacks that are ranged that you can do with it. These are basically like energy slashes, types of beams that you can shoot out of it, all of whom we've seen. I mean, basically damn near every time she's used them has caused either a death-dealing blow to lower-level monstrous characters or middling to substantial damage on upper and top-tier monstrous-level characters. Like, this sword is specifically designed to like hurt beings like that, and it is especially effective against them. And the third main ability that it has, one that we recently learned, is that the sword is capable of absorbing in totality the transcendental, and I don't know if it applies to spells yet. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case as well, but the totally absorbing the transcendental attacks of a lot of these monstrous characters. Where Leez was getting shot at by, I believe, some sort of energy-based attack from a creature in season 3. The sword changed color into a white color because it's normally black and completely absorbed the attack. And she was then able to release it again. And would have done, it was implied that the amount of damage she would have done to this person would have been greatly substantial if not for help coming in and putting up a barrier around that person. So the sword is capable of not only restricting the regenerative abilities of other people, but it can straight up just Kirby suck, which is pretty relevant for this court of debate, any sort of ability that gets thrown at her if she wishes to. And that's in addition to the counterattack transcendental that she has on the bracelet. And the fourth thing that I'll say is that if the sword is removed from her grasp, she can just summon it back to her like it's Mjolnir for Thor. That's like the final thing that it has for her.
Yeah, and I think with that, we've covered most of our basis items. Oh, I guess I can go into like
Hack shit that Bam has because Leez doesn't have
Bam's.
any of that.
Yeah, Bam's like bag because he's got like a
Yeah.
plethora of things. So one is fast skip where he can
Yep.
just completely freeze and stop your movements. And I just want to make something clear. It's not that he's done it and like people are like, I just can't move for like 5 minutes, but it doesn't matter who he's done it against and how strong or how weak he is or how big the discrepancy in power has been. It's worked. That's against Quant in season 1. That's against White. It doesn't matter. It's every time he's used it, he's frozen the person in place, even if it's temporarily, right? Bam was taught a infinite Shinsu loop ability because he's blessed by Shinsu by a character named Han Sung Yu. I know I'm saying character like you guys aren't Tower God people, but Han Sung Yu, which essentially any character in that series when they summon more bangs, which is just basically like a ball of energy which they can fire out like a beam from. The quality of the beam gets weaker with each bang. So if I shoot 1 bang, it would be stronger than me shooting 4, but with 4 there's more of them. This infinite Shinsu loop basically gets rid of that ability. It doesn't matter how many bangs that he summons, they're going to be at full power, and it actually kind of gives him an extra tank of energy. So it's almost like if you were playing a video game and you use all your MP, but you had some like item in this that'll just refill it immediately for like the one time. So you can do that as well, which is kind of crazy. So it will take a lot from tire himself out in that sense. Other than that, he's actually a very good hand-to-hand combatant. He's an extremely well-trained martial artist. He was trained by Ha Jin Sung, who's a technician from the Ha family, which I would say is probably the best hand-to-hand family in the tower. On top of him being different and kind of seeing what Lusek has done recently to Mazino, I'm like, oh, all right. Also, when he was going on the Hell Train, he learned a bunch of different martial arts by going to all those dojos, and this is a perfect segue into one of his most broken abilities, in my opinion, which is technique replication. He's known as the 25th Galactus and 25th Kirby in my neck of the woods for a reason, where Bam has this ability to pretty much replicate any attack that he's seen or especially been hit with. And I don't know if there's a limitation to it. There doesn't seem to be. It kind of just works when the story wants it to work. As recent as a character named Tiara, who has the ability to write things into existence to some degree. So she was fighting Yuri, who was a very strong character, and Yuri had these bangs that were very hard to use. She basically said, I have the ability to do that too, and started doing it as well. And then she's basically said, oh, I become Shinsu. So when Yuri actually got a hit on her, it just went through her, like she's like a Logia kind of, like it just phased through her. But when Bam was in the area and she tried to catch Bam, she phased through Bam, like he became like living Shinsu. Like it's kind of ridiculous and crazy. There's not many things that other characters have done that he wasn't able to replicate, and that includes him doing the teleportation arrow stuff. When they saw Kel Hellam and Soho kind of do it, then he was able to do that with his like soul arrows too. So it's kind of crazy. Blue Orb, Mule Love, he was living off of that for how long? Like
yeah.
So
doesn't that go to the extent that he can sort of break spells? And I don't know if it applies to items, because I don't think he's ever like destroyed like a workshop item to that degree. But I know he can like break spells a lot of that. Like there was Question Mark Boy in the last station that he just kind of did away with, like it was nothing.
So he has Shinsu negation, but I don't know if that really matters here too. Like, but yes, he has spell immunity resistance, and he's a spell breaker. So Tower of God has like a separate, kind of like if you think Marvel or DC, where like Superman shooting like heat vision from his eyes is something specific to Kryptonians and like a power ability related to his solar battery, whoop-de-whoop, blah blah blah. But Mr. Mixel-Pickelix using like magic and stuff, that's a completely separate category. Magic does not work on Bam for one reason or another. He's able to, his mom was a spellcaster. We believe he inherited that ability from Arlene Grace, but anytime there's magic around, he can kind of just break it, negate it, or make it not work the way it's supposed to work when he's around it. It doesn't seem to work like right against him. So he does have that. I think as recent. I'm trying to think the most recent thing he's done. Oh, Leviathan. Leviathan was locked away in some humongous spell or whatever, and then he just kind of like was the master key. Like just stand there and tap it, and like it broke. Like it's like it just
Yeah.
completely took the spell off. So there's that. Yeah, he's Jesus Christ. Yeah, and he has this weird ability to devour thing. Like he has an endless space inside of him where he can devour and just keep stuff inside of him. Like Leviathan was something that Trauma Ray, a family head, could not control or contain, and Bam just said, "Oh, I'm gonna put that in my storage, unlimited terabytes." So
Put it in my internal hard drive here, and we can just move on.
yeah, I still don't know exactly what Leviathan does for him, but he's used a couple of Leviathan boosted techniques. I guess the last thing I'll say is I'll kind of talk about his true self mode and the dark twist, the dark change when he fought against White. So he kind of activates the red Theresa and blue Theresa, and he has like these horns on his head, and then he starts to exude what I believe is his true Shinsu quality, which is black Shinsu, some type of dark black Shinsu. And he started making it rain, and I would argue the rain has the ability of rot if you played any video games, which even forced White to have to erect a barrier so he didn't kind of like dissolve away. But unfortunately, that hasn't been fully explained. Then he kind of was, he seemed to be like unconscious when he was doing it, and he just
I was about to say, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but he hasn't been able to like tap into that at will.
He hasn't done it since. Like true self mode he can do, like naturally, yes. He used it against Caliban, but it wasn't enough. But the thing specifically what he did against White has not been replicated since, no. So I feel like he has to be truly pissed off for that to happen. But I'm just gonna bring it up because it's a thing that he did. He was able to, I don't know if this would work under Sword of Re, but remember he completely took the sharpness and edge away from White's blade once he touched it.
Yeah.
It just became a fucking battering ram.
Is like, White's blade, it's not a, I can't remember at the time that he had done that. I can't remember if it was a physical item or if it was the Shinsu created one.
It's like a spirit blade that he makes. Yes, it's like a one that he created. So it wasn't like a physical item, like in the traditional sense. But it was White's, I believe, strongest sword. But I don't know. Kulinan was supposed to be that too. Inconsistencies are inconsistencies, but yeah. But I think that for the most part, Bang's tension, his Shinsu quality, being his tension is really great. Shinwan Ryu, I guess, black hole Shinsu sphere. It's also a crazy technique that seems to just kind of bypass all of the fences, kind of no matter what, and he can boost his own power eternally like that, the way Dada Jihad taught him, the same way a Redan works, the lightning pill that like Hun Ran would use. He can do that as well. But if I think of anything on the spot that's important to bring up, I'll do that, and we can kind of just get to how you kind of see this playing out. In terms of them.
I will say there's one ability of Leez's that I forgot, which is it's a sort of like flash step instant movement ability that she knows that her father had known beforehand. I'm trying to. I can't remember. Yeah.
It was called like
shortened distance.
Shortened distance.
Shortened distance. That's what it's called. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So there's that. So we can kind of just tell me in your words how you think things will kind of shape up. Play. I don't know. Infinite Void, Grassy Field, Dragon Ball Wasteland. On some versus Goku.
I think probably Grassy Field for the two of them in this case. Like I don't think the two of them.
I don't really like.
Rocky.
My point is just they're in a general area where they can just go at it and fight. Whatever you want to call it.
I think the fight would start out a lot of the way that Bam's fights would, where he would try and get in close with martial arts stuff before he would attempt to use any Shinsu stuff.
Yeah.
And I think he would learn very quickly that's not going to do anything to Leez. Because even if he used something like Flare Wave Explosion, which is a particularly potent ability of his in terms of close range, it's not going to... If she's on the ground, it's not going to hurt her. If she's in the air, she'll just regenerate from it. So he's going to rely, and I also should say, in terms of his spell-breaking things, when it comes down to how Kubera's power system works, spells and transcendentals are two different things. The abilities that items bestow upon Leez are not spells. They are transcendentals. The only thing that's a spell the only thing that Bam would take away from her if he was able to somehow get the items off of her, which I will say for the Golden Knight, it is impossible to remove the bracelet from her unless the god who created it decides to, or a person that knows a specific, I can't remember what it is. Like there's some like the priest
some method to remove it and put it on that they.
It does not seem to be spell based either. But the only way he would take it off her is like she would only lose the ability to fly in terms of spells. She would also lose the regen, but of course, like, the boots are gonna like keep her grounded. So if she's on the ground, any sort of close, if Bam tries to fight her close range, it's essentially the like the comparison of like fuck around and find out if he's gonna try and fight her close range, which I think he would start the fight trying to do, knowing how Bam fights. Now, do I think that Lee should be able to put him down long enough for him to, or in that span of time, for him to not shoot off any or like Shinsu attacks at all? No, I do not. However, the minute Bam starts to do that, he's going to be in a bit of a bind, because either Leez is definitely going to chase after him because she's got to keep the fight close range, but she can also harass him from range with the Sword of Ray. The other issue is that, and I think this is kind of like a stalemate between the two, any attacks that Bam shoots at her with Shinsu, she would likely be able to absorb with the Sword of Ray. And if Leez wants to not allow him to escape, I do think that Bam is... I mean, Tower of God characters, like, their power levels are not necessarily that high in comparison to other Kubera ones. And Bam's not necessarily the type of character who can, like, flat out annihilate a whole floor if he wants to. Like, at once type shit. So I do think that the Height of Bondage would be able to work on keeping him close with her, and if need to, she can have she can use shortened distance to keep up with him. I think it's gonna be a knockdown drag out fight. Like, I think they would likely tire each other out before either of them would perform a finishing blow on him. But if that's the kind of fight that we're in right now, I think there's no real way, shape, or form that Bam could necessarily outlast her. Especially when I think that the Sword of Ray would, if we're combining systems here and we're going with like cross-series power interactions, I think it would be fair for the Sword of Ray to be able to sort of penetrate Shinsu defenses and kind of nullify them to a certain degree, because that's what the sword is designed to do.
I got you. Like, I that scenario makes sense to me. The questions that I have is, is there anything that she's doing that he's going to be able to copy? What do you think? The first thing that
it's hard, because not a lot of her abilities are like unto herself. They're all based off of the items, and I've never seen, like, it's like saying if Bam, when he fights what's his name, Yama's mad dog Varagov, if he would have been able to absorb the abilities from the blood, what was the item he got from the workshop battle? Like, if he could have just taken that.
Oh, you're talking. Oh, the blood tamara.
Yeah, the blood tamara. Like, Bam's never displayed the ability to just take shit like that. Or like, if he had walked up to the white, what's the dagger that Kun has? I can't remember what it's called. White mirror or something like that. Like,
yeah, the one that he could like put people into it. Okay.
Yes, like, he can't take the storing abilities from that. Like, the only thing that he might be able to take from her is like the strength buff from Hodi Kubera, and maybe the flight from Bavati Kubera, but he already has that.
It's not impossible, only because recently there's a book that's supposed to give Gustang back his memories about whatever.
I forgot the fucking book.
And he absolutely absorbed all the information and knowledge in there, to the point where it told Gustang, "You're not even worthy of having this knowledge." And he said, "So that boy was worthy of it and whatnot." And Tiara's ability is from a pen, but that's a spell, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but in my opinion, I believe it's a spell.
You think the book is as well?
I'm not 100%. I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Because I don't think it would matter. His ability to just take things into himself is something he can do, so I don't know that would matter. But the pen, I'm pretty sure, is a spell, just based on how it
and the book wasn't necessarily something, because this I'll say, like, that's far enough into TOG where my knowledge is kind of limited. But the book isn't necessarily something that gave it, like, it's like, if you, like, the book has abilities unto itself other than providing knowledge. Like, it's not like the book could shoot like a beam from its pages or anything like that. Or
yes, on some near shit.
Yeah.
The best thing that I can tell you is, I don't know if Gustang created this dude, or if this dude was like originally a passage of text, but when the book was returned to him, the dude that gave it to him turned back into text and went into the book. That's the best that I got for you. But you're right, like, he didn't get it, and all of a sudden it's like, I now have this book ability that does this or whatnot. So that's fair. Yeah, I don't know. This would have to go down to the wire. I think originally when I thought about this, I definitely leaned way further in Bam's direction, but the more I thought about it, the more it came closer. I'm still probably in my head. Okay, actually, let's do it this way first before I say that. What do you think is Lee's win condition?
Oh, she has to hit him. Either he decides to stay in close too long, where she can just physically overwhelm him. Because I guarantee she could put his ass to sleep the same way she did Yuta, if she really wanted to. Or she has to get a major hit off, either with counterattack from the Golden Knight, a returned attack from the Sword of Re, absorbing a Shinsu boosted attack from him, or hits a major blow with the Sword of Re, either close or from long range. Because that sword's area of effect is pretty large, where she was like, when she was fighting this larger Sura character, she was like cutting around like mountains and shit. Or like, and also she was shooting these from, and do you remember in season 2 when she's in the turret? She could see from the turret where these people were running from and was shooting the beams from Arrow Plateau all the way into the surrounding mountain outside of Rindhalo, where she was shooting them from. So the range is pretty damn decent on it. Like, and those cuts are substantial. Like they were.
Yeah, they both.
I think when we see her again in season
range.
3, like
her range is probably longer, but like his projectile game is crazy. He could just throw so many things at you.
Yeah, I just don't like if she's on the ground. I don't know how much of if any of it is doing damage to her.
The only thing is, okay, who do you think is the smarter combatant? Because I give that edge to Bam, because Bam has figured out things, and I don't want it's hard to give him credit to his brain. It's just Bam things he does in TOG, but it's just like. I still think the craziest thing is what him and White did to Arya. Arya had some weird time manipulation, time delay, some type of ability, and they experienced it like 1.5 times and figured out the timing. And I was like, bro, what? Figuring out a space-time ability that quickly is insane.
I will say this, though. Lee, as of recently, Leez has been pretty damn observant and thoughtful in a lot of her fights that she's been in.
Bam's kind of been on a rampage with that of the Mudflat Snake with Ren, El Baba, Elaine's dad, all of that. Like he's kind of been consistently building on like being a more competent fighter in terms of his brain. Even when he came to help Hajin Sung, they both recognized that they switched from attack to defense to lure them somewhere. You know?
Yeah. This is one that I'd say again. I think it's close, but I'd probably lean Bam. Whereas opposed to like fight experience, I mean, Leez has spent. I mean, Bam's older than her. Yeah. Not, but I mean, well, in terms of the amount of time he's been awake and doing, it's been like what, like 10 years, something like that.
Yeah, a little longer.
Something like it's. I don't think it's not like an exorbitant amount of time that he's been walking around the tower.
It really depends on what you believe, because people believe he's like billions of years old already. So just kind of.
Well, I mean, that's your point is like when he was a
kid. You're talking about since he's been in the tower
since the story started.
It's been over a decade, and Tower of God years. I think are they longer or shorter? I don't remember now. I think they're shorter than our.
This is what I'll say to that though. Lee spent 7 years in a dimension comprised entirely of monsters. And walked out of it, I mean, substantially more powerful, but like wasn't sort of out of her depth at any point in terms of that experience. And this was being in the midst of people that could annihilate planets, galaxies, solar systems at the wave of their hand type shit. Like she was in those like spheres and stepping to these people without hesitation and walking out of them. She wasn't necessarily getting dubs off of people like that, but anybody weaker than that, like you remember at the beginning of season 3, there's like hundreds of Tarakafied Sura of indeterminate level. I would assume probably not Rakshasas, or maybe some of them were. But she was like, "Yeah, I'll stay here and fight until I can get my boyfriend out of here." And Kasa and her friend, there's this dragon guy that we both love, was like, "You're tripping." Let's get out of here, please. Like, this is getting a little too much for us. And that dude is stupid strong. So if he's saying that, like, you know that she has no chill. But I think the thing is, like, I don't think there's any situation where either of them are just going to get a huge blow off on the other and just knock one of them out of the fight. I think it's going to be a knockdown drag out thing basically the whole time. Because I just generally don't think that they're... Unless he decides to just go full martial arts and I'm just going to stick close range, like I'd try and use my cutlery on you or some shit, then she could, if he stays in close, it's over.
I don't think he
like
would.
Bam is not fucking with her in close, even with his martial skill, because a lot of that's going to be kind of pointless against her defenses.
Unless Shinwan Ryu was strong enough to break it. But again, if she's on the ground, there's that, and she probably wouldn't. It's probably not a good idea to take the fight to the air. I think.
And even if she's not on the ground, she can heal. And if he tries to take the sword away from her, the healing gets stronger. It's kind of this thing of, oh, I just killed her, but she just got up a second later again. The healing, I think the problem is that anything Bam can throw at her that would kill her, one, it would have to be when she's in a vulnerable position, not on the ground. And even if it does hit her, it's likely not going to end the fight.
Yeah, this actually ended up being a lot more complicated than I realized. This guy's got 100 million techniques he stole from so many people. Not that he always uses those techniques after he's used it once, but I'm genuinely interested in hearing what the chat in the comments are gonna say about this one. But I'll kind of give you what I envision to be Bam's win condition. And this reminds me of one thing too. If she loses her arm with the golden knife, that's a way of removing it from her, right? Or does that not work? I couldn't remember if that was a thing that not works or whatnot. Because I feel like that's...
her arm's been taken off of her, and she just put that bitch back on.
Yes, for sure.
This is something I should also say to people. Just because she's triple Earth attribute doesn't mean that she only has access to Earth spells. She can use other things. One of them that she's used all the time is also a resurrection style spell that is wholly based on healing. So she has access to that in addition to the bracelets spell. Like, that's one of the other schools that she's able to use. She hasn't really used any other ones as far as I'm aware. It's really just been, I think it's just been Kubera and Asvin's spells that she's used. I don't think she's used anything else.
Like, that for me, his win condition is to get around the golden bracelet. As much as the sword of Re is dangerous to him, and so like the height of bondage and stuff, it's not something that I don't think he can circumvent and get around.
I think he's got to get around the boots before he can get around the bracelet. In terms, because
that's actually the boots and the bracelet are the two biggest things. That's a good point. But the thing about it is, in my brain, I think he'd figure out that she's pretty much impervious to damage on the ground. I think he'd figure that out. I think he's smart enough and enough and experienced enough to figure that out. But then he might let's say somewhere around the battle he lands in like a fatal blow and she gets back up. He's gonna be like, huh? Like what? And she's like fully healed. I'm not gonna know what's happening. If he can figure out it's the bracelet and get her hand off and somehow hit her with something strong, that's like his only win condition. I don't think that he'd get enraged enough in the fight to go into that mode he did against White, because I do think that presents a completely different...
I don't think either of them would be like bloodlusted in this.
Yeah.
I mean, Leez can get into that mode way easier than he can, but
with them, she'd have to be like, oh, by the way, like I saw this guy with blue hair and I killed him. You know, like that's kind of like the only way.
I don't think either of them are going to get like pissed off at each other in the middle of this.
I agree with you with that. They're not going to go down that route. But this was a lot closer than I thought. Like, but again, just remind me, can the sort of can it absorb like transcendentals and attacks like infinitely? Like,
I mean, this is the one thing with lasers. That we have.
Yeah, I'm like
we haven't seen limits to them.
Okay,
that's the thing.
Yeah. Okay, because I was going to ask, like, if he shoots one at her and she kind of starts absorbing it, but there's like 26 coming in all directions as well, that she just kind of like, can they hit? Like, maybe she, like, it's on the ground, probably not going to hurt her that much, which is so crazy. But my point is, I don't know if that is just going to absorb everything, because Bam can honestly send an onslaught of attacks at you without giving you a chance to really breathe. And he's able to do this. Sorry, real quick. He's able to do this in conjunction of and coming in close. He's not a person who has to choose long range or close range. He can combine the two. So that to me is his best win condition. And I'll kind of leave it at that. Go ahead.
I think even in terms of that, it's going to be, is she off the ground? Is she able to out heal at all? Which is probably yes. And it depends on how much the sword can absorb. From what we've seen, and given who the sword was made by, and what its purpose was to be used against when it was first made, I would assume it can absorb quite a lot. And in terms of what we've seen, you remember that she was fighting Tatia and Sona at the same time, and she was absorbing basically everything that they threw at her. and while also trying to work around Tatia's barrier at the same time and actually succeeding to the point
which he has too, by the way. He has these barriers against like Novik's attacks and stuff too. I forgot he has it.
Yeah, and like and you remember to the point of like it took Ran and Maruna had to step in order, like it is possible she could have beaten both of them by herself. Now, do I think that's the case? Without the bracelet at the time, because she was doing that without the bracelet, if you also recall.
Yeah.
like
have a bad time.
Yeah, like like the two characters I'm referring to, like one of them is planetary, because 5th stage Rakshasa, and the other one is a casual city destroyer. If we go on other people of her rank, and that's one thing with Kubera. Like ranks of characters are consistent throughout. Like there's no sort of deviation in terms of overall power level. Like a lot of these guys are just absolutely stupid if you're within this sort of rank. But there are variations in the power level, but it's pretty ubiquitous for the most part.
Yeah.
And that she was fighting both of them at the same time. And one of them was playing entirely defensive for the other, just acting as a shield for the one that was the planetary one. And she was not out of her depth.
Yeah, I do believe like those two items that she has, and the fact that the people and things that she goes up against is like her claim to fame. Like she goes up against things that are far exceed what Baam has to deal with. But with Baam, for me, it's the amount of things that he can do, the things he can copy, and the fact that the story treats him like Jesus.
Oh yeah,
and it's like. I'm not gonna do the thing where it's just like, oh well, I've seen her lose and I've seen him not really lose, so he wins. I'm not gonna do that. But my point is, Baam gets himself out of any situation looking good. So like, as a CBL man, I'm just gonna go six out of 10 times for the time being. I'm gonna lean in his direction, but I think this can go either way, and I wouldn't be shocked if she got the W.
Yeah,
I really
over here.
Yeah,
these characters are strong.
Trust me,
very strong.
You're gonna learn because you're gonna see them a little bit more often. But appreciate you guys for getting this far. If you did and you listened all the way through, this one's a long one. It's a chunky boy. And tell me what you guys are. Are you team Kubera Leez or are you team CBL? Let me know in the comment section below. Yeah, have yourself a mighty fine day. I'm actually waiting to see if you're gonna say like bye or something. I don't know. Did you have a last statement?
No, that was good.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just chilling.